Thanks for joining us. I'm Marlon Bowling, your tour guide to the ag commodities. We're getting closer to the USDA reports. The supply and demand numbers come out at noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, and of course we'll be covering those numbers for you. In the meantime, we're getting ready for the report, and I want to welcome Brian Hoops to the show. And he is with Midwest Market Solutions. He's based out of Springfield, Missouri, and he'll be joining us live by video feed. It is so cool to be able to talk to you, Brian, this way. And as we get ready for the USDA report, I wanted to visit with you, if you don't mind for a second, about the South American crop prospects. We were just talking a little bit ago on our Ag News segment about how they are over half done with their planting on their soybean crop already. And all the talk for a long time was about the fact that they were running about, what, 2 weeks behind on their planting progress or something like that. But now I believe they may actually be ahead of schedule. The caveat to that is I understand some of it may need to be replanted because it is so dry down there. So I'm wondering, what do you hear about that?
Yeah, good morning, Marlon. That's what the trade's really been focused on here is that dry weather in South America. They just slowed down their plantings because it was so dry. They didn't want to get out in the field and plant in dry dirt and just let it sit there. So they waited until it did rain, and now it has rained, and now they've gone very aggressively at planting corn and soybeans, and now we're back up to near a normal pace for both Argentina and Brazil, but it still remains dry, particularly in parts of Argentina, and forecasts are talking about a La Nina event developing. And if that happens, that means less rain than normal, warmer conditions than normal, which would certainly be detrimental to yield prospects, particularly in Argentina this year. So that really bears watching. There was a report out this morning from CONAB, that is the Russian or the Brazilian agency, similar to our USDA, and they forecast Brazil's soybean crop would be 135 million metric tons this year. That easily eclipsed the previous record of 124.8 set back in 2019 and 20. So if they get the rains and if they have a good growing season, they're planting so many more acres this year, responding to this increase in prices, that they are going to have a monster soybean crop. But they won't be able to harvest a lot of that until February and March, and so it leaves the door open for U.S. export possibilities all the way into that time frame.
So if that's the case, when you look at a longer term chart, and of course we're making more new 4.5-year highs today, but what if the weather forecast would change down there? How risky is that to where we are in the market right now?
There's several things that could happen to change the chart pattern in here. A change in the weather to more normal rainfall, decrease in La Nina, and China stop buying from the United States. That would certainly change the trend of the market in here. That means bigger South American supplies, and that China is going to wait for those supplies out of South America. And if we continue to stay warmer and drier, China continues to buy from the U.S. because they may not have as much soybeans out of Brazil to buy. No doubt we're going to continue to see prices steadily move higher through the winter months. And I think we're going to need to put in a premium anyway into this market, as we need to entice the United States farmer to plant more soybeans this next year to kind of increase our ending stocks. Our balance sheets are getting very tight, as we'll see later this morning in the supply and demand report.
So speaking of that, on the soybean prices, January is now trading 7.25 cents higher at 11.17 3/4 as we get closer to the report release. Backing up to check on the corn here with these quotes provided by bar chart. December 3.25 higher now at 4.10 3/4, and touching on the wheat. In Chicago, we have December 6 higher now at 603.5 as it continues to push its way upward. And in Kansas City, we're 3.5 higher at 5.56 per bushel. The spring wheat trade has December currently a half lower at 5.54 1/4. We'll come back and I'll run through our livestock prices right after this. On the livestock trade, let's take a look at our live cattle futures here, and we have the December contract 22 higher at 112.05, February up a nickel. The deferreds are still lower though. On the feeder cattle trade today, remember we had those big gains yesterday. Everything beyond November is higher by a little bit. January up 17 cents, we're at 140.90. March up 27 cents this morning. On the lean hog market, you currently have December trading 40 cents lower at 65.20. And narrowly mixed further out. Beef cutout values yesterday afternoon, excuse me, we're talking with Brian Hoops right now. The beef cutout values were very strong, over $3 higher in choice and select cuts. That was at the same time we had the big rally in futures yesterday, Brian. Does that give you any additional layer of support underneath the market now?
Yeah, I think it does. We haven't seen really any ideas about cash bids from the Packers yet, but with the higher cutout values, show list being smaller this week, we really think we're going to see at least $1 to $2 higher cash trade, and that's what the feedlots are banking on, is looking for additional gains in the cash markets from last week. The futures have dialed in a large jump in the cash markets already. A lot of 107 trade last week. So even if we have a $3 move up to the 110, that's given us a $2 basis, and probably tells the futures traders that this is high enough for now. We need to let the cash catch up to this futures market and consolidate just for a little bit here. So, we may see a very choppy type trade in the cattle and feeder cattle going forward.
Okay, I wanted to touch on the Dow and see what it's doing right now. We are starting to see another rally, 141 points higher on December futures at 29,189. Thank you, Brian, for the time. Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. Tammy, back to you.